The kitchen light cast harsh shadows across Lila's face as she slipped through the back door at 11:47 p.m. Her yoga pants were pristine, her hair perfect, and she reeked of expensive cologne that definitely wasn't mine. "You're up late," she said, freezing when she saw me sitting at the counter with a beer and her gym bag. "Trip got canceled. Thought I'd wait up for my hard-working wife." I took a slow sip, watching her eyes dart to the bag. "Funny thing about your spin class tonight." Lila's smile faltered. "What do you mean?" "Well, I called the gym to surprise you with flowers. They said the last class ended at 8. I reached into her bag and pulled out a small black phone I'd never seen before. But this little beauty has been buzzing all evening." Her face went white. "Nick, I can explain." "Oh, I bet you can." I powered on the phone, scrolling through messages that made my stomach turn. "Chase Bell, huh? Your personal trainer. Very personal, from what I'm reading here." I held up a particularly graphic photo. "Is this what they call core work these days?" Lila lunged for the phone, but I pulled it back. "Give me that." "Sit down." My voice was calm, but something in my tone made her freeze. "We're going to have a conversation." She perched on the edge of a chair like a bird ready to fly. "Nick, it's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. 6 months of lies. 6 months of working late and girls' nights and extended training sessions." I scrolled through more messages, each one twisting the knife deeper. "Here's a good one. Can't wait to taste you again. Very poetic, your boyfriend." "He's not my boyfriend." "Right. He's just the guy you've been screwing in his apartment every Tuesday and Thursday while I worked overtime to pay for your gym membership?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. The irony is beautiful. Lila's mask finally slipped completely. "Fine. Yes, I'm seeing Chase. But it doesn't mean anything. It's just physical." "Just physical?" I nodded slowly. "So when you told me you loved me last week, was that just physical too?" "Don't be dramatic. This is about needs, Nick. Adult needs that you obviously can't meet." The words hit like a slap, but I kept my expression neutral. "So, it's my fault." "It's nobody's fault. Monogamy is overrated anyway. If you really loved me, you'd understand that I need more than what one person can give." I stood up, pocketing the phone. "You know what, Lila? You're absolutely right." Hope flickered in her eyes. "Really? Monogamy is overrated." I headed toward the stairs. "And if that's true, then love must be overrated too." "What's that supposed to mean?" I paused at the bottom step. "It means I'm done playing the faithful husband while you play house with your trainer. You want freedom? Congratulations. You've got it." "Nick, wait." But I was already climbing the stairs, leaving her sitting alone in the kitchen with her lies and her excuses. For the first time in months, I felt something other than pain. I felt possibility. The next morning, Lila was gone before I woke up. She'd left a note on the kitchen counter. "Gone to Mom's to think. We need space." Perfect. Space was exactly what I needed. I called my foreman and took a personal day, then drove to the wharf, the Riverside dive bar where my buddy Marty worked. The place smelled like stale beer and broken dreams, but it was honest about what it was. More than I could say for my marriage. "You look like hell," Marty said, sliding a beer across the scarred wooden bar. "Let me guess. Princess Lila? How'd you know?" "Brother, half the town's been talking about her and that pretty boy trainer. I was wondering when you'd catch on." The beer turned bitter in my mouth. "Half the town?" "Construction crews see everything. Chase Bell's been picking her up from that fancy coffee shop on River Street for months. Always touchy-feely, always heading to his place." Marty leaned closer. "I'm sorry, Nick. I should have said something." "No, you shouldn't have. This is my mess to clean up." I pulled out Lila's phone. "But I could use some help with the cleaning." Marty's eyes lit up with mischief. "What did you have in mind?" I showed him the messages, watching his expression shift from amusement to disgust. "Jesus, Nick. She's been planning to leave you for months. Look at this one. Once I get the house and the divorce, we can be together properly." The house. The Victorian I'd spent 3 years restoring with my own hands. Every piece of crown molding, every refinished hardwood floor, every custom cabinet in the kitchen. She wanted to take it all and hand it to her boyfriend. "That's not going to happen," I said quietly. "What's the plan?" I thought about it, sipping my beer while the morning crowd of retired fishermen argued about the weather. "She wants to play games? Fine, but she's about to learn that I'm better at them than she is. Count me in. That woman's had it coming for years. By afternoon, I had a strategy. Nothing illegal, nothing that would land me in jail or make me look like the bad guy. Just good old-fashioned social engineering with a healthy dose of public humiliation. First step, I used Lila's phone to text Chase, pretending to be her. Can't stop thinking about last night. Meet me at the construction site on River Street at 8 p.m. I want to try something new. Chase's response was immediate and graphic. I screenshot it for later use. Second step, I called my apprentice Finn, a 22-year-old kid with more loyalty than sense and a talent for creative mischief. Boss, I thought you were taking the day off. Change of plans. How do you feel about a little after-hours project? What kind of project? The kind that involves protein powder, gym towels, and a very expensive Mustang. Finn's laugh was pure joy. I'm in. Third step. I drove to Chase's gym and waited in the parking lot. Sure enough, his cherry red Mustang was parked in the spot marked Staff Chase Bell, like he was some kind of celebrity. The car was his pride and joy. I'd heard him bragging about it to clients, seen him washing it obsessively every weekend. It was probably worth more than most people made in a year, financed to the hilt and polished to mirror brightness. Too bad it was about to have some mechanical difficulties. At 7:30 p.m., I was crouched behind Chase's Mustang with a toolbox and a bag of supplies. Finn kept watch from across the parking lot, texting me updates on gym activity. I didn't slash his tires or key his paint. That would have been criminal damage, and I wasn't interested in giving Lila ammunition for a restraining order. Instead, I carefully removed the distributor cap and tucked it into my pocket. The car would turn over but wouldn't start, frustrating but not permanent. Then came the fun part. I opened every door and window, stuffing the interior with gym towels soaked in protein shake. Vanilla, chocolate, strawberry. I'd bought out the vending machine. The smell would be horrific in the summer heat, and the sticky residue would take hours to clean. For the finishing touch, I left a note on the windshield. Stay fit. Stay away from other men's wives. A concerned citizen. By 8 p.m., I was parked across the street from my construction site, watching Chase pace angrily beside the chain-link fence. He'd obviously discovered his car troubles and had to get a ride from someone at the gym. His phone was glued to his ear, probably trying to reach Lila. I let him wait 20 minutes before driving over. Hey there, I called out, rolling down my window. You look lost. Chase spun around, his face flushed with anger and embarrassment. Nick? What the hell are you doing here? It's my construction site. I could ask you the same question. I'm supposed to meet... He stopped, realizing how that sentence would end. My wife? I got out of the truck, noting how Chase took a step back. He was taller than me and probably stronger, but something in my expression made him nervous. Yeah, she's not coming. She's at her mother's house, thinking about our marriage. Funny how that works. I don't know what you're talking about. I pulled out Lila's phone and read his text messages aloud. Can't wait to feel you wrapped around me again. Your husband's an idiot for not appreciating what he has. I'm going to make you scream my name. I looked up. Should I keep going? Chase's face went from red to white. How did you get my wife's phone? Easy. She left it in her gym bag, along with some very interesting photos. I stepped closer. Here's what's going to happen, Chase. You're going to stay away from my wife. You're going to find a new job, preferably in another state. And if I see you anywhere near my house or my marriage again, I'm going to make tonight look like a friendly warning. You can't threaten me. I'm not threatening you. I'm educating you. I gestured toward his gym. How's your car running, by the way? The realization hit him like a brick. You son of a bitch. That was you. Prove it. I smiled. But maybe next time you'll think twice before texting married women about your sexual fantasies. Chase pulled out his phone. I'm calling the police. Go ahead. Tell them all about how you've been having an affair with a married woman and someone played a harmless prank on your car. I'm sure they'll be very sympathetic. He hesitated, thumb hovering over the screen. Or, I continued, you can clean the protein shake out of your car, get it running again, and pretend this conversation never happened. Your choice. Chase stared at me for a long moment, then shoved his phone back in his pocket. This isn't over. Yeah, it is. I got back in my truck. And Chase? Next time you want to steal someone's wife, make sure her husband isn't smarter than you are. I drove away, leaving him standing alone in the parking lot. In my rearview mirror, I could see him kicking at the gravel like a frustrated child. One down. But Lila was still out there, probably spinning some sob story to her mother about her terrible, neglectful husband. Time to deal with that problem, too. Vivian Ross lived in a tidy cottage on the north side of town, surrounded by flower gardens that looked like they belonged in a magazine. She'd been Lila's stepmother for 15 years, ever since she married Lila's father when Lila was in college. I'd always liked Vivian. She was elegant without being pretentious, smart without being condescending. More importantly, she seemed to see right through Lila's act. "Nick," she looked genuinely surprised when she opened the door. "What are you doing here?" Lila said you two were having problems. "We are. That's actually why I'm here. Can we talk?" She glanced back toward the living room, where I could hear the TV playing. "Lila's resting. Maybe this isn't the best time?" "Actually, it's the perfect time." I held up the phone. "She left this at home. I thought she might need it." Vivian's eyes narrowed as she recognized the device. "That's not her regular phone." "No, it's not. It's her cheating phone." The words hung in the air between us. Vivian's expression shifted from confusion to understanding to something that might have been relief. "Come in," she said quietly. "Let's talk in the kitchen." Vivian's kitchen was warm and inviting, with copper pots hanging from hooks and the smell of fresh bread in the air. She poured 2 cups of coffee without asking if I wanted any. "How long have you known?" she asked. "About the affair?" "Since last night. About the problems in our marriage?" "A lot longer." "I'm sorry, Nick. I really am." She sat across from me, wrapping her hands around her mug. "For what it's worth, I never approved of how she treated you." "You knew?" "I suspected. Lila's always been difficult. Even as a child, she had trouble with the truth. And lately, she's been different. Secretive. Cruel." I showed her some of the messages, watching her face grow increasingly disgusted. "This is what she thinks of our marriage." "Of me?" "Oh, Nick." Vivian's voice was soft with sympathy. You deserve so much better than this." "I thought I could make it work. I thought if I was a good enough husband, if I worked hard enough, if I gave her everything she wanted. You can't love someone into being a better person. Trust me, I learned that the hard way." Something in her tone made me look up. "Your first marriage?" 23 years with a man who cheated on me with anyone who would have him. I kept making excuses, kept trying to fix things that couldn't be fixed. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Don't make my mistakes." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying you're a good man, and you deserve to be happy. With someone who appreciates you." Before I could respond, footsteps echoed from the hallway. Lila appeared in the kitchen doorway, looking rumpled and irritated. "Nick? What are you doing here?" I held up the phone. "You forgot this." She snatched it from my hand, immediately checking for messages. "You went through my private things." "Your private things were buzzing on the kitchen counter at midnight while you lied to my face about where you'd been." "Lila," Vivian said carefully, "maybe you should sit down. We need to talk about this." "There's nothing to talk about," Lila's voice rose. "My marriage is my business. Not when you're planning to steal my house and give it to your boyfriend." Vivian's eyebrows shot up. "Excuse me?" I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshot I'd taken. She's been planning her exit strategy for months. The house, the bank accounts, even my tools. "Lila Marie Ross." Vivian's voice was ice cold. "Is this true?" "It's not that simple." "It's exactly that simple." Vivian stood up, her coffee cup hitting the table with a sharp crack. "You're having an affair and planning to rob your husband blind. How is that complicated?" "You don't understand. Nick doesn't appreciate me. He takes me for granted. Chase makes me feel alive." "Chase makes you feel like a whore," I said quietly. "Because that's what you are to him. A married woman who's easy to manipulate." Lila's hand flew toward my face, but Vivian caught her wrist. "Don't." The older woman's voice was deadly calm. "Don't you dare. Let go of me. Sit down and listen, or get out of my house." Lila jerked her arm free but stayed standing. "Fine. Say whatever you want to say. I've watched you treat this man like garbage for years. I've watched you spend his money, live in the house he restored with his own hands, and complain about everything he does for you. And now I find out you're cheating on him and planning to steal everything he's worked for." "It's not stealing. It's community property. Property you contributed nothing to except complaints and demands." I watched the two women face off, feeling something shift in the room. Vivian wasn't just defending me, she was furious with Lila in a way that went beyond this situation. "You know what?" Lila grabbed her purse. "I don't have to listen to this. From either of you." "Where are you going?" I asked. "Somewhere I'm wanted." She headed for the door. "Don't wait up." After she left, the kitchen felt peaceful again. Vivian refilled our coffee cups, her hands shaking slightly. "I'm sorry you had to see that," I said. "I'm not. It's been a long time coming. She sat back down. Nick, can I ask you something? Sure. What are you going to do now? I thought about it, staring into my coffee. I'm going to give her exactly what she asked for, which is freedom, but it's going to cost her everything else. Vivian smiled for the first time since I'd arrived. Good. It's about time someone called her bluff. The next morning, I woke up with a plan and a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in months. Lila wanted to play games? Fine. But she was about to learn that two could play, and I had home field advantage. First stop, Mrs. Delacroix, my 78-year-old neighbor who knew more about everyone in town than the newspaper. She was in her garden when I walked over, wearing a sun hat that had seen better decades. Morning, Mrs. D. Nicholas? How are you, dear? I heard Lila's been staying with her stepmother. Of course she had. Mrs. Delacroix's information network was legendary. Actually, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. I sat on her porch steps. I could use some advice. Her eyes lit up. Mrs. Delacroix loved being consulted on personal matters. Oh, I found out Lila's been having an affair with her personal trainer. She says she wants an open marriage, but what she really wants is to have her cake and eat it too. Oh my. Mrs. Delacroix set down her watering can. That poor girl has always been troubled, but the thing is, I don't want to be the bad guy here. I just want people to know the truth. The truth has a way of coming out, dear, especially in a town this size. I suppose you're right. I just hope people don't think badly of me when I start dating again. Mrs. Delacroix's eyebrows shot up. You're dating? Well, not yet. But Lila made it clear that monogamy is overrated. If she can explore her options, so can I. Of course. You're a catch, Nicholas. Any woman would be lucky to have you. I smiled. That's very kind. I actually had coffee with Vivian Ross yesterday. She's such an interesting woman. Vivian? Oh, yes. She's lovely, so elegant, so intelligent. Nothing like that stepdaughter of hers. We had a wonderful conversation. She's been so lonely since her divorce. Mrs. Delacroix was practically vibrating with excitement. Are you saying? I'm not saying anything definitive, but she's good company, and she understands what I'm going through. Well, I think that's wonderful. Vivian deserves happiness, and frankly, it would serve Lila right. Perfect. By noon, half the town would know that Nick Harlan was moving on with his life, and the other half would know exactly why. Next stop, the construction site, where my crew was already hard at work on the Riverside Development Project. These guys were salt of the earth, honest, hard-working, and fiercely loyal to people who treated them right. Hey, boss, called Tommy, my lead carpenter. Heard you had some excitement last night. Word traveled fast in construction circles. Nothing I couldn't handle. Good for you. That trainer punk had it coming. You know Chase Bell? Know of him. He's been sniffing around married women at the gym for years. Always picks the ones with money. That was interesting. Other married women? Oh yeah. My wife's friend Sarah went through the same thing 2 years ago. Chase seduced her, convinced her to leave her husband, then dumped her the minute the divorce was final and she lost her alimony. Did she warn other women? Tried to, but who's going to believe the bitter ex-wife? Chase is too smart for that. He always makes it look like the woman came after him. I filed that information away. What happened to Sarah? She's working 2 jobs now, living in a studio apartment. Her ex-husband got remarried and moved to Florida. That's rough. Yeah, well, some lessons are expensive. I spent the rest of the morning working alongside my crew, letting them fill me in on the local gossip network. By lunch, I had a complete picture of Chase Bell's operation and a list of his previous victims. Time for Phase 2. That afternoon, I drove to the gym where Chase worked. It was one of those upscale fitness centers with floor-to-ceiling windows and equipment that cost more than most cars. The clientele was exactly what you'd expect. Wealthy housewives, young professionals, and older men trying to recapture their youth. I didn't go inside. Instead, I sat in my truck across the street and watched the parking lot. Sure enough, Chase's Mustang was there, looking like he'd spent hours cleaning it. The protein shake smell was probably gone, but I'd bet money the interior still felt sticky. At 2:30, he emerged with a blonde woman in her 40s. She was hanging on his every word, laughing at jokes I couldn't hear. Her wedding ring caught the sunlight as she touched his arm. I took a photo. At 3:15, another woman. Brunette, younger, also married based on the ring and the guilty way she kept looking around. Another photo. At 4 o'clock, Lila appeared. She looked tired and stressed, not like a woman enjoying her newfound freedom. They talked for a few minutes by his car, their body language tense. She kept shaking her head while he gestured angrily. I took several photos of that conversation. By 5 o'clock, I had enough evidence to paint a clear picture of Chase Bell's business model. He wasn't just a personal trainer, he was a professional homewrecker with a specific type. Married women with money and low self-esteem. Time to share this information with the right people. The annual River Days Festival was 3 days away, and the whole town was buzzing with preparation. Local businesses set up booths, the volunteer fire department organized games, and the town council arranged for live music on the main stage. Vivian was on the festival committee, which gave her influence over the schedule and vendor assignments. When I called her that evening, she was more than happy to help with my plan. "You want me to arrange for Lila to receive a community service award?" she asked, "for her work promoting fitness and healthy relationships in the community. Very public, very official. She won't be able to resist." "And you'll be there to present it?" "Along with some visual aids showing exactly what kind of relationships she's been promoting." Vivian's laugh was warm and conspiratorial. "I like the way you think, Nick." "What do you need from me?" "Just get her on that stage Saturday afternoon. I'll handle the rest." "Consider it done. But Nick, be careful. Lila can be vindictive when she's cornered." "So can I?" The next morning, I got a call from Finn. "Boss, you need to see this. Chase Bell's been asking around about you." "What kind of asking?" "The kind where he's trying to find dirt. He's been talking to guys at Murphy's bar, asking if you've ever been in fights, if you have a temper, if you've ever been arrested." "What are people telling him?" "Nothing good for his case. Everyone knows you're solid. But boss, he's also been asking about your work schedule. When you're at the site, when you're not. That was concerning." "You think he's planning something?" "I think he's desperate. His car thing really got to him, and word's getting around about what kind of guy he is. His reputation's taking a hit." "Good. Keep an eye out, and let me know if you see him anywhere near the site." "Will do." "Oh, and boss? My girlfriend works at the phone store. She says Chase bought a bunch of prepaid phones yesterday. Paid cash. Prepaid phones meant untraceable communication. That suggested Chase was planning something he didn't want connected to his regular number." I called Marty at the bar. "I need a favor." "Name it." "Can you keep an ear out for anyone asking about me? Particularly anyone offering money for information?" "Sure thing. Why?" "Chase Bell's trying to build a case that I'm some kind of dangerous stalker. I want to know what he's up to before he does it." "That little weasel. Don't worry, Nick. Nobody's going to help him, but I'll spread the word to keep an eye out." By Thursday evening, I had confirmation that Chase was indeed planning something. Mrs. Delacroix called to tell me that a very handsome young man had been asking her neighbors about my behavior, specifically whether I'd ever been violent or threatening. "I told him you were a perfect gentleman," she said. "But dear, you should know that he also asked about your relationship with Vivian. He seemed very interested in that." "What did you tell him?" "The truth. That you're both adults who deserve happiness, and it's none of his business." "Thank you, Mrs. D." "Of course." "Oh, and Nicholas?" "That young man left his business card with the Hendersons. I happened to see it when I was returning their mail that was delivered to me by mistake." I smiled. Mrs. Delacroix's mistakes were always perfectly timed. "Chase Bell, personal fitness consultant," she read. "But here's the interesting part. He wrote a phone number on the back. Not the gym's number. A different one. The prepaid phone." "Could you read me that number?" She did, and I wrote it down carefully. "Mrs. D, you're amazing." "I do my best, dear." "See you at the festival Saturday?" "Wouldn't miss it." Friday morning, I got the call I'd been expecting. "Nick?" "It's Vivian. Lila just called. She's very excited about the award ceremony." "I bet she is." "She wants to bring Chase as her guest." I told her that might not be appropriate given the circumstances, but she insisted. "Perfect. Did you tell her what time?" 2 o'clock, main stage. The whole town will be there." "Good. The bigger the audience, the better." "Nick, are you sure about this? Once you do this, there's no going back." I thought about the house I'd restored, the marriage I'd tried to save, the years I'd spent being the faithful husband while my wife planned her exit strategy with another man. "I'm sure." "Then I'll see you Saturday." "And Nick, for what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing." Saturday morning dawned clear and warm. Perfect festival weather. I spent the morning at the construction site, putting the finishing touches on my presentation. By noon, I was ready. Time to give Lila exactly what she'd asked for. Freedom from her marriage and all the responsibilities that came with it. The River Days Festival was in full swing by the time I arrived at the town square. Families strolled between vendor booths, children ran around with cotton candy, and the smell of barbecue filled the air. It was the kind of small-town scene that made you believe in community and second chances. Too bad some people didn't deserve second chances. I found Vivian near the main stage, elegant in a blue sundress and looking nervous but determined. Everything ready?" I asked. "The presentation equipment is all set up." "Lila will be called to the stage at exactly 2 o'clock. She glanced around the crowd. "Are you sure about this, Nick?" "It's going to be quite public." "That's the point. Lila spent months lying to everyone about our marriage. Time for some truth." "She's here, by the way. Over by the ring toss game with Chase." I looked where she pointed and saw them. Lila was dressed to impress in a white sundress that probably cost more than most people's monthly grocery budget. Chase stood beside her in khakis and a polo shirt, looking like a catalog model and clearly enjoying the attention from other women. They looked happy together. That was about to change. At 1:55, Vivian took the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our Community Service Awards. These recognize individuals who have made significant contributions to our town's well-being." The crowd gathered closer. I spotted Mrs. Delacroix in the front row, practically bouncing with anticipation. Marty and Finn flanked the stage, ready to provide backup if needed. Our first award goes to someone who has worked tirelessly to promote fitness and healthy relationships in our community. Please join me in welcoming Lila Harlan. Applause rippled through the crowd as Lila made her way to the stage, beaming with pride. Chase followed, but Vivian politely directed him to wait at the bottom of the steps. "Thank you so much," Lila said into the microphone. "I'm truly honored by this recognition." "Before we present the award," Vivian said, "your husband Nick has prepared a special presentation about your work." "Nick?" I climbed the steps, carrying a laptop connected to the large screen behind us. Lila's smile faltered slightly when she saw me, but she couldn't back down now without looking suspicious. "Thank you, Vivian." I turned to address the crowd. My wife Lila has indeed been very active in promoting relationships in our community. In fact, she's been so dedicated to this work that she's been conducting private one-on-one sessions with her personal trainer, Chase Bell. A murmur went through the crowd. Lila's face went white. "Now, some people might call this adultery," I continued conversationally. "But Lila prefers to think of it as promoting the idea that monogamy is overrated. Isn't that right, honey?" "Nick, stop this." "Oh, but we're just getting started." I clicked to the first slide, a screenshot of Chase's text messages. Here we can see Chase's professional approach to fitness training. Very hands-on, very personal. The crowd was dead silent now. I could see people in the front row reading the explicit messages, their expressions shifting from confusion to shock to disgust. And here, I clicked to the next slide, we see Lila's response. Notice how she emphasizes that her husband, that's me folks, is working late and won't be home until 10. Lila lunged for the laptop, but Vivian stepped between us. "Let him finish, dear. This is harassment. This is private." "Actually," I said, "according to you, this is community service. You've been servicing the community quite thoroughly, haven't you?" The crowd was getting restless. I could see Chase pushing through people, trying to get to the stage. But wait, there's more. I clicked to the next slide. Photos of Chase with other married women. It turns out my wife isn't Chase's only fitness client. Here he is with Sarah Morrison. Oh wait, that's Sarah Collins now. She lost the Morrison name in her divorce. And here he is with Jennifer Walsh, who I believe is still married to Tom Walsh from the hardware store. Tom Walsh was in the crowd. His face had gone from confusion to rage as he recognized his wife in the photo. And finally, I clicked to the last slide, here's the real community service. Lila's planned to divorce me, take half of everything I've worked for, and move in with Chase. Very generous of her to redistribute wealth in the community, don't you think? The crowd erupted. People were shouting questions, taking photos with their phones, and pointing at Chase, who had finally made it to the stage steps only to be blocked by Finn and 2 other guys from my crew. "You bastard!" Lila screamed. "You can't do this to me." "Actually, I can. You wanted freedom, remember? You wanted everyone to know that monogamy is overrated. Well, congratulations. Everyone knows." Chase finally broke through and charged up the steps. "You son of a bitch! You've ruined everything." He swung at me, but I'd been expecting it. I stepped aside and let his momentum carry him past me, straight into the dunk tank that had been set up for charity fundraising. The splash was enormous. The crowd cheered. And Chase Bell, professional homewrecker and part-time fitness model, came up sputtering and humiliated, his perfect hair plastered to his head and his polo shirt clinging to his suddenly less impressive physique. "And that, folks, is what we call a fitness demonstration," I said into the microphone. "Thank you for coming to Riverday's festival. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon." I handed the microphone back to Vivian and walked off the stage, leaving Lila standing alone in her white dress, facing a crowd that now knew exactly what kind of person she really was. Behind me, I could hear her trying to explain, trying to spin the story, trying to make herself the victim. But it was too late. The truth was out, captured on dozens of phones and already spreading through social media. Marty appeared at my elbow with a beer. That was beautiful, man. Absolutely beautiful. Think it'll stick? Brother, that woman's never going to show her face in this town again. And Chase? He's done. Tom Walsh is already making calls to every gym in the county. I looked back at the stage where Vivian was calmly announcing the next award while Lila stood frozen in shock and Chase dripped puddle water onto the platform. You know what the best part is? I told Marty. What's that? I never broke a single law. Everything I showed was true, everything I said was factual, and everything I did was legal. And the dunk tank? Self-defense. He swung first. Marty raised his beer. To the truth. To the truth. We clinked bottles and watched as Lila finally fled the stage, Chase trailing behind her like a wet dog. The crowd had already moved on to the next award, but I could hear the buzz of conversation, the whispered comments, the shocked laughter. By tomorrow, the whole county would know the story. By next week, it would be legend. Lila had wanted freedom from monogamy. Instead, she'd gotten freedom from respectability, community standing, and any chance of taking my house. Sometimes you get exactly what you ask for. The festival continued around us, but I was done being the center of attention. I found a quiet spot by the river and sat on a bench, watching the water flow past and thinking about what came next. Vivian found me there 20 minutes later. That was quite a performance, she said, settling beside me. Too much? Not nearly enough, in my opinion. But then again, I've been wanting to do something like that to Lila for years. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching families enjoy the festival activities. It felt surreal. An hour ago, I'd been publicly destroying my marriage, and now kids were playing games and couples were sharing funnel cake like nothing had happened. What happens now? Vivian asked. Divorce, I suppose. Though after today, I don't think she's going to fight me for the house. I meant with us? I looked at her, noting the way the afternoon sun brought out the silver in her hair and the laugh lines around her eyes. She was beautiful in a way that Lila had never been, naturally, honestly, without artifice or manipulation. I don't know, I said honestly. Yesterday I was married. Today I'm not, at least not in any way that matters. Tomorrow, I guess we'll see. I'd like to see, she said softly. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You think you've won, but this isn't over. I know where you live. I showed it to Vivian. Chase's prepaid phone, I'm guessing. Are you worried? Not really. He's all bluster and no substance. Besides, after today, he's got bigger problems than me. As if summoned by our conversation, Finn appeared with Marty in tow. Boss, we got a situation, Finn said. Chase and Lila are over at Murphy's bar, drunk and loud. Chase is telling anyone who'll listen that he's going to make you pay for humiliating him. Anyone taking him seriously? Nah, most people are buying him drinks just to hear him dig the hole deeper. But boss, Lila's saying some pretty nasty stuff about you, and about Mrs. Ross here. Vivian sighed. I was wondering when she'd get around to that. What kind of stuff? I asked. The usual. You're abusive, controlling, probably been having an affair with her stepmother for months. She's painting herself as the victim who was just looking for love and understanding. Is anyone buying it? Marty snorted. After what they just saw? Hell no. If anything, it's making people more sympathetic to you. Nobody likes a sore loser. My phone buzzed again. Another text. Enjoy your whore stepmother while you can. I showed it to the group. Vivian's face hardened. That's enough, she said, standing up. I think it's time someone had a conversation with my stepdaughter. Vivian, don't. She's drunk and angry. Nothing good will come of confronting her right now. Maybe not. But some things need to be said. She was already walking toward the bar. I hurried to catch up, Marty and Finn following behind. Murphy's bar was packed with festival-goers taking a break from the heat. We found Lila and Chase at a corner table, surrounded by empty bottles and the kind of people who enjoyed watching train wrecks. Lila saw us coming and stood up unsteadily. Well, if it isn't the happy couple. Sit down, Lila, Vivian said calmly. You're making a fool of yourself. I'm making a fool of myself? You're the one sleeping with your stepdaughter's husband? The bar went quiet. Everyone was staring now, phones coming out to record the confrontation. Actually, Vivian said, in a voice that carried to every corner of the room, I'm a single woman who's been having coffee with a man whose wife has been cheating on him for months. But thank you for clarifying the difference between friendship and adultery. I wasn't sure you understood it. Lila's face flushed red. You sanctimonious bitch. You've always hated me. I've never hated you, Lila. I've been disappointed in you, embarrassed by you, and frustrated with your behavior. But hate? Number. You're not important enough to hate. That hit home. Lila swayed on her feet, whether from alcohol or shock, I couldn't tell. You want to know what I think? Vivian continued. I think you're a spoiled child who's never had to face consequences for her actions. I think you married a good man and spent years taking him for granted while you looked for someone better. And I think you're angry because your little scheme backfired and now everyone knows exactly what you are. What I am. Lila's voice was rising to a shriek. What am I, Vivian? A user, a liar, a woman who would rather destroy her marriage than work on it. Chase finally spoke up. Hey now, that's not fair. Shut up, Vivian said without looking at him. You're a predator who targets vulnerable women, and everyone in this room knows it. I'm not vulnerable, Lila protested. No? Then why did you fall for the oldest con in the book? Handsome trainer tells unhappy wife that she deserves better, that her husband doesn't appreciate her, that she's special. Meanwhile, he's running the same game on half a dozen other women. The crowd murmured agreement. Several people nodded knowingly. It's not like that, Lila said, but her voice lacked conviction. Isn't it? Chase, tell her about Sarah Collins. Tell her about Jennifer Walsh. Tell her about all the other special women you've seduced and abandoned. Chase's face went white. I don't know what you're talking about. Of course you don't. Just like you don't know about the complaints filed against you at your previous gym. Just like you don't know about the restraining order in Connecticut. That was news to me. Vivian had been doing her homework. You're lying, Chase said, but he was already backing toward the door. Am I? Should I call Detective Morrison and ask him to verify the background check I requested? Chase bolted. He pushed through the crowd and out the door, leaving Lila standing alone at the table. Chase! She called after him. Chase, wait! But he was gone, and everyone in the bar knew he wasn't coming back. Lila turned to face the room, mascara running down her cheeks, white dress wrinkled and stained. This isn't over, she said, looking directly at me. Yes, it is, I replied. It's been over for a long time. We just made it official today. She grabbed her purse and stumbled toward the door. At the last second, she turned back. I hope you're happy, she said. I looked around the bar, at Marty grinning behind the counter, at Finn giving me a thumbs up, at Vivian standing proud and elegant beside me, at the crowd of neighbors and friends who had supported me through the whole ordeal. You know what, Lila? For the first time in years, I actually am. She left without another word. The bar erupted in cheers and applause. Someone bought a round for the house. Mrs. Delacroix appeared from somewhere and hugged me tight enough to crack ribs. That woman had it coming for 20 years, she whispered in my ear. I'm proud of you, Nicholas. As the celebration continued around us, Vivian and I stepped outside for some air. That was quite a speech, I said. It felt good to finally say it. She looked tired, but satisfied. I should have stood up to her years ago. Why didn't you? Same reason you didn't leave her sooner, I suppose. Hope. The belief that people can change if you just love them enough. And now? Now I know better. She smiled. Some people don't want to change. They just want to take whatever they can get and move on to the next victim. My phone had been buzzing with messages throughout the confrontation. I finally checked it and found dozens of texts and calls, friends offering support, neighbors sharing gossip, even a few from people I hadn't heard from in years. But the most interesting one was from my lawyer. Saw the video. Call me Monday. This changes everything in your favor. Video. Of course. In the age of smartphones, everything was recorded. I think I'm going to be fine, I told Vivian. Better than fine. You're going to be free. We walked back toward the festival, where the afternoon was winding down and families were starting to pack up their picnic blankets. Tomorrow, life would return to normal. But it would be a new normal, one where I didn't have to pretend my marriage was working or make excuses for my wife's behavior. Vivian? Yes? Would you like to have dinner tomorrow night? Somewhere nice? Where we can talk without interruption? She smiled, and for the first time in months, I felt genuinely hopeful about the future. I'd love to. As we rejoined the festival, I caught sight of Lila's car pulling out of the parking lot, packed with suitcases. She was leaving town, probably for good. Chase's Mustang was nowhere to be seen. He'd apparently decided that discretion was the better part of valor. The sun was setting over the river, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Children ran around with sparklers while their parents cleaned up the remnants of the day's festivities. It had been a good day, not just for the revenge, though that had been satisfying, but for the truth, for standing up for myself, for refusing to be the victim in someone else's story. Lila had said monogamy was overrated. Maybe she was right, but loyalty, honesty, and respect, those would never go out of style. And for the first time in years, I was with someone who understood that. The end. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching,